Adam, accused, alone, and unbroken, fights for his innocence. He was a man living an ordinary life. But one summer night, everything changed. The streets of Elmwood were still cloaked in pre-dawn shadows when Adam rose each morning. His alarm, a cheap plastic clock he'd owned since high school, buzzed at 4:30 a.m., pulling him from dreams of oil-stained blueprints and the hum of a well-tuned engine. He lived in a cramped one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, where the faint scent of detergent mingled with the grease on his work clothes. Elmwood was a neighborhood of brick row houses, their facades weathered but proud, leaning into each other like old friends sharing secrets. The bakery on the corner, run by Mrs. Rosa with her flour-dusted apron, was just opening its doors, the smell of fresh bread wafting into the chilly air. Adam would nod to her as he pedaled his bicycle past, his breath visible in the crisp morning. The mailman, Mr. Torres, always waved back, his satchel bouncing as he trudged his route. Shopkeepers swept their stoops, and early commuters shuffled toward the bus stop, their faces buried in scarves. This was Adam's world, ordinary, predictable, safe. He worked at the warehouse on the edge of town, unloading crates of produce and stacking boxes until his shoulders ached. At night, he delivered food on his bike, weaving through Elmwood's narrow streets, dropping off burgers and pizzas to families who knew his name. Every tip, every crumpled dollar went into a tin box under his bed labeled Shop Fund. The auto repair shop was his dream, born from a promise to his late father, who taught him to fix cars in their garage before cancer took him. Adam could still hear his father's voice. "Build something, son. Something that's yours." The sketches for the shop, penciled on graph paper, were taped to his fridge, a reminder of why he endured the long hours, the sore muscles, the monotony. But Elmwood wasn't as idyllic as it seemed. Beneath the surface of neighborly smiles and shared gossip, tensions simmered. The corner store clerk, Jimmy, always asked too many questions, his eyes sharp with curiosity. Mrs. Callahan, the nosy widow next door, watched everyone from her window, her curtains twitching like a heartbeat. And then there was Carl, Adam's neighbor across the hall, a wiry man with a charming smile and a knack for knowing everyone's business. Carl worked odd jobs, always vague about what he did, and had a habit of lingering in conversations, his eyes darting as if searching for something to exploit. Adam didn't think much of him, just another face in the rhythm of his days. That rhythm shattered one sweltering summer evening. Adam was locking his bike outside his apartment when sirens pierced the air. Police cars flooded the street, their flashing lights painting the row houses red and blue. A crowd gathered near the alley behind his building, whispers rippling through the night. Adam pushed through, curious, until he saw it, a body sprawled in the dirt, blood pooling beneath a tattered jacket. The victim was Eddie, a local drifter who'd been seen rummaging through dumpsters or sleeping on park benches. His throat had been slashed, his eyes staring blankly at the sky. The neighborhood erupted in chaos. Neighbors spilled onto their stoops, some clutching their children, others pointing fingers. Mrs. Rosa stood outside her bakery, her hands wringing her apron. Mr. Torres, still in his mailman uniform, shook his head, muttering about trouble coming. Mrs. Callahan's voice carried over the crowd. "Who'd do something like this? Right here, in our alley?" Adam felt a chill, not from the night air, but from the way eyes began to turn toward him. The police cordoned off the alley, their radios crackling. Detective Harris, a grizzled man with a permanent scowl, barked orders to his team. Beside him was Officer Lena, a rookie with sharp eyes and a notebook she clutched like a lifeline. They questioned everyone, their flashlights cutting through the dark. Adam gave his statement, home from deliveries, didn't see anything, but Harris's gaze lingered on him. "You live right there." He pointed to Adam's apartment. "You hear anything odd tonight?" Adam shook his head, his throat tight. He didn't know why, but he felt like he was being sized up. By morning, suspicion had taken root. Mud was found caked on Adam's work boots, left by the door from a rainy delivery 2 nights prior. Scratches marked his forearms, earned from wrestling with a crate at the warehouse. Worst of all, his delivery log had a gap, an hour unaccounted for on the night of the murder, when he'd stopped to help a stranded motorist change a tire. To Adam, these were nothing, fragments of his ordinary life. To the police, they were clues. To the neighborhood, They were proof. The coffee shop where Adam grabbed his morning brew fell silent when he walked in. Conversation stopped mid-sentence, eyes darting away. Mrs. Rosa, who had already slipped him an extra donut, avoided his gaze as she rang up his order. Jimmy, at the corner store, asked, "You doing okay, man? Heard the cops were at your place." His tone wasn't friendly. It was probing. Even the stray dogs Adam fed scraps to seemed to shy away, their tails low. The streets he'd ridden for years felt foreign, the familiar hum of Elmwood replaced by a tense, watchful silence. Adam's routine began to crumble. The warehouse manager, Mr. Gaines, called him into the office. "Cops keep sniffing around," he said, his voice gruff. "I gotta cut your hours until this blows over." Adam's stomach dropped. Those hours were his lifeline, every paycheck a step toward his shop. His landlord, Mr. Patel, wasn't much kinder. "I can't have trouble here," he said, eyeing Adam like a stranger. "Explain yourself or you're out." Adam tried to protest, but the words felt hollow. He was losing ground fast. Nights were the worst. Delivering food, he felt eyes on him. Windows cracked open, curtains shifting, whispers trailing him like shadows. Someone spray-painted "Killer" on his apartment door, the red letters dripping like blood. He scrubbed it off, his hands shaking, but the word lingered in his mind. He retraced his steps from that night, checking his delivery logs, trying to piece together the missing hour. The motorist he'd helped was a stranger, gone without a trace. No one had seen him stop. No one believed him. Detective Harris was relentless. He showed up at the warehouse, at his apartment, asking the same questions in different ways. "Where were you between 8 and 9 p.m.? Who can vouch for you?" His eyes were cold, calculating. But Lena seemed different. She lingered after Harris left, her voice softer. "If you've got anything at all that proves you weren't there, tell me." Adam wanted to trust her, but trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. The neighborhood turned into a pressure cooker. Mrs. Callahan started to petition to keep the streets safe, her eyes fixed on Adam's door. Kids whispered behind fences, their games now tinged with fear. A robbery at the corner store added fuel to the fire. Jimmy claimed he'd seen someone like Adam lurking nearby. The police linked it to the murder, and Adam's name became a synonym for danger. He overheard snippets of gossip, always thought he was too quiet. Keeps to himself, doesn't he? Even Mr. Torres, who'd wave to him every morning, crossed the street when Adam approached, but Adam refused to break. He kept his routine, waking before dawn, pedaling through Elmwood, nodding to shopkeepers even when they didn't nod back. He pored over his logs, mapped his routes, and knocked on doors asking if anyone remembered seeing him that night. Most slammed their doors shut. Others, like Mrs. Rosa, hesitated, their kindness warring with doubt. "I want to believe you, Adam, but people talk," she said, her voice heavy. Behind it all was Carl. He was everywhere, chatting with neighbors, helping Mrs. Callahan with her groceries, even offering to keep an eye on Adam's apartment. His smile was too easy, his words too smooth. Adam remembered a moment years ago when they'd both applied for a promotion at the warehouse. Adam got it, Carl didn't. The resentment in Carl's eyes had been fleeting but sharp. Now Adam wondered if that grudge had festered into something darker. Weeks dragged on, each day heavier than the last. Adam's savings dwindled as his hours shrank. The tin box under his bed felt like a taunt, his dreams slipping away. He barely slept, haunted by the image of Eddie's body, the accusations, the red paint on his door. Flashbacks to his father crept in. Late nights in the garage, the smell of motor oil, his father's calloused hands guiding his. "You're stronger than you know," his father had said. Adam clung to those words, even as despair clawed at him. Then a glimmer of hope. Officer Lena called him to the station. A liquor store 2 blocks from the alley had turned over its CCTV footage. Adam's heart raced as she played the tape. It showed Eddie arguing with someone in a hooded jacket, the timestamp matching the murder. The figure wasn't Adam. It was Carl. Another clip caught Carl slipping into the alley, a knife glinting in his hand. Lena's voice was steady but urgent. "We're bringing him in, but we need your statement to seal this." The confrontation came that night. Adam found Carl outside their building, smirking as he tossed a cigarette into the gutter. "You thought you'd get away clean, didn't you?" Carl said, his voice low. Perfect Adam, always the good guy, made it so easy to point the finger. He admitted it all, planting the mud, scratching Adam's arms during a friendly scuffle, and forging the delivery log. Eddie had been a loose end, someone Carl owed money to from a shady deal gone wrong. Framing Adam was just convenient. The police arrived before Carl could say more. As they cuffed him, his smirk didn't fade. "You'll always be the guy they doubted," he hissed at Adam. The words stung, but relief watched over Adam like rain. The neighborhood watched, silent, as Carl was led away. Some neighbors mumbled apologies. Others avoided Adam's eyes, their guilt heavier than their suspicion had been. Life crept back to normal, but it wasn't the same. Adam returned to the warehouse, his hours restored, his tips slowly filling the tin box again. Mrs. Rosa slipped him a donut, her smile tentative but genuine. Mr. Torres waved once more, though his eyes lingered with regret. The streets felt like home again, but the scars remained. Adam trusted less, watched more, carried the weight of being doubted. Months later, he stood outside a small brick building on Elmwood's Main Street. The sign above the door read, "Adam's Auto Repair," the letters gleaming under the evening lights. He unlocked the door, the smell of fresh paint and motor oil filling his lungs. Inside were his tools, his sketches, his dream made real. The neighborhood witnessed his trial, his isolation, his triumph. Elmwood's rhythm resumed. Children played, shopkeepers swept their stoops, and the bakery's bread scented the air. But Adam's story lingered, whispered in alleys, remembered in quiet moments, a testament to an ordinary man who faced extraordinary darkness and rose above it.